Hi all, today we will have a question paper analysis. So we are going to discuss the question paper of Advanced Philosophy of Education, M.Ed. So let us see the last question paper. The question paper having three sections, part A, B and C, and there are total 21 questions. There are options in the question paper. Part A or section A, you will have 5 questions. You need to answer all the questions, and there is a common error while answering this section is usually observed is that it's a 2-mark question. All the 5 questions are 2-mark questions, and sometimes these questions shall be in the form of an open-ended or a very big question. But it is very clear that you have to answer these 5 questions in a very specific manner up to the point because it carries only 2 marks. So try to answer these questions in a very specific manner up to a paragraph. So there are students who are writing very long pages for this. At the same time, it will lose your time to answer other questions, and altogether you will get maximum of 2 marks by answering each of these 5 questions in this part A section. So while seeing these questions, we can see write about the importance of relationship between discipline of anthropology and education. That's the only thing. You need not elaborate about anthropology, just to write about the discipline of anthropology with that of education. Then what is metaphysics? You have to define it in a paragraph. Then differentiate between Jainism and Charvaka. You have to provide at least 4 differences between these 2 schools of thought. Then a definition of pragmatism. Then what is meant by communism as a social school of philosophy. So in this section you have to complete this section by about 20 minutes, because you know that it's 80-mark question paper. You will have 3 hours, and altogether you may not get all the 180 minutes for writing the exam. You need to some time for reading the question, getting the paper. Then you have to, sometimes you need to think about some answers. You need to check all the answers. So you need at least 15 minutes for all these things. So in practical, you will get something around 160 minutes for actual writing the exam. So you will have 2 minutes per 1 mark question. So it's this section 10 marks section. So you have a maximum of 20 minutes. You have to finish the section by 20 minutes. So we pass on to part B of the question paper. There are total 12 questions. You have to answer 8 out of 12 questions. So you have to mark which all questions you are going to answer. So that will be easy for you to identify which all questions you will answer. And each question carries 5 marks. So you need to answer the question in a page or so, 1 or 2 pages, with some example as possible, depending on the nature of the question. Too much lengthy answer is not necessary. Sometimes certain questions you know very well, but try to limit with the mark of the question. So for each question you can take maximum 10 minutes, because we have already calculated that time that is available. So for entire section is 8 into 5, 40 marks. So you have to utilize up to 80 minutes for writing this section. So it's an important section. So when we are looking into the question, explain the origin and development of education as a discipline in this digital era. So actually the question, you need to write about origin and development of education, not much description regarding digital era. So that origin and development you need to concentrate on. Then enumerate the significance of philosophy of education, how philosophy influences education, that you need to mention as answer. Then salient features of Vedic education. In all these cases, one important thing is that when you put the question number, beware of two things. One, only question number shall be given within margins, and that also in a very legible, clear manner. Otherwise, the evaluators confused about your number. So there are students who are writing question number along with some section numbering within the margin. So whatever section number you are planning to give, you can give some other form of numbers such as A, B, C, D or Roman numbers, etc. are subsections of your different answers. So all the question numbers alone shall be appear within the margin. So that's another thing I need to mention. Then the salient features of Vedic education. Then the contribution of Tagore's philosophy in education system. Write about the educational implications of Bhagavad Gita. Discriminate the idealistic view of education from existentialism. So the 5 aspects of education such as aims, method of teaching, discipline, freedom. So you can compare or discriminate these schools together in such a way. Then what about education as an act of teaching? You have to supplement with some examples if you are having. Then there are questions, the 13 question, like write short note of the following. So there shall be like questions. Sometimes there shall be some 3 or 4 subsections within the questions. So you have to equally, the mark shall be equally divided for each section here, such as for Purva Mimamsa and Uttara Mimamsa. So you have to write both these. So that's important. Then enumerate the epistemology and its role in education. So what is epistemology and how it influences education? Next question in the section, there is an error in the question. Explain about the pioneer of playway methods. So explain about the pioneer role of playway method in education may be the correct usage in the question. So what is the role of playway method in education? That's the question actually. So you need to explain. You can provide some illustrations as well. Then the term democracy, and write a comparative account of totalitarianism. So here you need to write about democracy and you have to compare it with totalitarianism. So there shall be some 2 marks for describing democracy and 3 marks for comparison between democracy and totalitarianism. And the last question in section B is individualism is significant. 1. In this challenging society, write your views. It's an open type question, open-ended question. You are not well aware of such kind of questions. Better leave such questions. Then we pass on to section C. There are 4 questions. 50-50 option. You can write only 2 out of 4. Each question carries 15 marks. So teaching as a profession. Write your opinion with philosophical point of view. So what is teaching? How it become a profession? How teacher can develop as a professional? All those things you can use for writing this kind of questions. So let us elaborate on this. You can provide subsection. You can provide numbering as we are already discussed. Some ABCD or Roman small letter numbers you can use to organize your essay type answer. And the next one is enumerate the concept, two sides of the same coin with interdisciplinary nature of education. So how these various disciplines influence education and how education influence various disciplines. Both these things you can incorporated in answering such question. Son discuss the education implication of Paulo Freire and write about his aim, curriculum, method of teaching and discipline. So the answer shall be concentrated more on the basic aspects of education such as aim, curriculum, method, discipline, etc. put forward by Paulo Freire. And the last question, write a comparative study of education implications of Quran and Bible on aim of education and discipline. Here also you have to concentrate more on aim and discipline with respect to Quran and Bible. And there is a second part for the question, in what way it is suitable to the present context on education system. So there shall be a division of mark in such questions. There shall be some 10 mark for the first part and 5 mark for the second part. So never leave the second part. So these are some of the aspects regarding to a question paper. And one more thing I would like to mention in this occasion is that there is another error usually committed by students while writing examination, is that putting the question number just on writing the question number, you have to put the number well below the hole for tying up your answer paper. Otherwise, your number will be within that space when you tied up your answer paper, and it became invisible when an evaluator going to correct your paper. So that should be, you have to provide the numbers. The question numbers is very crucial. So you have to write it clearly, legibly, as well as well below for the hole provided for tying up the question paper. So this is a brief analysis of question paper on philosophy of education. Hope it will be beneficial for you in your future examination. Thank you.